So this is a place called Le Montage. So it's sort of like where all the beautiful people come to have their coffee in the morning. It's not very busy today, obviously being a weekday. But yeah, it's quite a nice place. They have wedding banquets and all that type of thing there, right in front of the water, which is quite beautiful. Palm trees, oh, beautiful. What a beautiful place I live. So Frida and I are just going to go for a quick coffee. You might be saying, well, you're not a beautiful person. Well, I sneak in. I do my best.
Rushworth-Brown, author of Skullduggery, Red Winter Journey, and just released Dream of Courage. So today, I'm here with fantastic author Paul Hollis, renowned author of the Hollow Man series. As I mentioned on the previous interview, I'm actually Beth Worsdale's author of the week. Lucky me. So rather than just like talking about trivial things and me, I thought I'd invite a number of my Australian authors and American authors onto the show, and this will be screened across Australia on my website and obviously in the US. So anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Paul Hollis. Paul Hollis is an American author of fictional terrorism and espionage. His best-selling trilogy, the Hollow Man series, follows a US government analyst. Paul, thank you for coming on. It's wonderful to see you again.
Same here. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate
it.
it.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, when you start talking about espionage and terrorism and all that type of thing, everybody goes, "Wow."
Yeah. I actually tracked terrorists in Europe for about 3 years back in the early to mid 70s, and that's really the basis for this book series. Is my misadventures, I would say. I'm not anything like a Jason Bourne or James Bond. Anyways, yeah. One thing led to another. I joined the Peace Corps for about 2 months, maybe. I was transferred into a place called Tanzania in East Africa, which was a new country about that time. And if you're familiar with the pale blue stones called tanzanite, those actually come from there. So I was digging latrines up to my knees in mud and some kind of animal excrement, I'm sure. But along comes this guy and says, "Hey, I've got a better offer for you." And I thought, well, any offer would be better than what I was doing there. So he said, "I want you to tour Europe on our expense, and what we'll do is we'll need to call on you every once in a while to track down some information for us." Basically, is how he put that. So he gave me a 3-4 week survival course, basically with the U.S. Marine Corps trainer for the SEAL teams, which I didn't know then, but I was crying to go back to go to Vietnam at that point, and it's like anything would have been better. So, but anyways, next thing I knew, I was in Europe and wandering around. I just went to in those days. They gave me a number, and I could go into any American Express office in Europe, and they said, "Give me money," and they would give it to me, and I would do whatever I wanted to. But then when they called me, I needed to go to work, and that's really what these 3 books are about: is tracking terrorists and my unwanted ambition to go a little bit further than just collecting information. So it got me into all kinds of trouble, etc. But it's a kind of it's a good read. I think it's a fun read, and I think most people will find something of value in all of the books.
Well, I mean, really, when you think about it, sort of like that thriller, espionage and terrorism and all that type of thing. I mean, obviously, that's the genre to write about these days. It's very, very popular, and I understand you won an award. What was it? The best story in the world?
Yeah, it was. I think they're still doing this, but I was in the first or second year of their competition, and it was called the world's best story, and happened to come in first, and I thought, well.
Now, I mean, you've been an author for a long time, and so have I. And there's definitely been some. I mean, you're also a publicist, aren't you?
I'm a publisher. Yeah, I don't know the
Oh,
first thing about marketing. So,
okay, all right, okay. Nor do I actually. Okay, so for the viewers at home, I'd just like to explain my background here. This is actually my backyard, because one of the promises I made to our audience was that not only would I interview authors and have a bit of a discussion, give away some prizes, all that type of thing. What I'd also do is give them a bit of a look at, or invite them into my home, but also give them a bit of a look around Sydney. So tomorrow I'll be going to to Canada Bay, and we'll have a look at some of the Bondi Beach and have a look at the Sydney Opera House and all that type of thing. So yeah, this is my backyard, and yeah, it needs a bit of paint. So yeah, might have to work on that. Hi, and welcome to my city, Sydney, Australia. Beautiful day today, blue skies. We're actually a place called Canada Bay, which is actually part of Sydney Harbour. And obviously, if you know much about Sydney, it's not very hard to get to some part of the water anywhere in the city. So we're about probably I'd say about 20 minutes from the CBD, and we're sitting here in Canada Bay. And you're probably wondering why it's called Canada Bay. Well, it's called Canada Bay because back in 1838 there was a revolt in Lower Canada, and the government at the time, Lower Canadian government, sent 3 Irishmen and 50 odd French Canadians to the penal colony in Sydney. The Archbishop asked them to come down. They spent quite a lot of time in jail before being pardoned, and then actually became part of the Australian society. Anyway, so what I thought we'd do, just for something a little bit different, I've got 50 questions here, and what I want you to do is I want you to give me a number between 1 and 50, and I'm going to read the corresponding question for that number. All right. So, okay. And then obviously you just answer it. Okay. So, what's your first number between 1 and 50?
Let's try 17.
17.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good one, actually. What authors did you dislike at first, but grew into?
Oh boy. I would say all. I kind of disliked the 20th century, earlier 20th century authors. Steinbeck's and Fitzgerald and Hemingway, and for different reasons. Each of them. One was sort of very simplistic to my knowledge, to my reference, anyways. One was very mundane in that you could talk for hours. I mean, you could read for hours, and it was like just 20 minutes had passed, sort of thing. So it was just kind of thing that. But then I realized, there was some success to them, a lot of success, and so I decided that it's like, okay, let me give them another look, and so I kind of honed in, and I said, this is what they're doing, right? So I understood, and I learned from it, and I think it made me a better author. But I can tell you this too, that my who affected me most were really really I love Dylan Thomas and the way he told a story. Auden as well, W.H. Auden, and T.S. Eliot, some of the greats, and they sort of inspired the way I tell stories nowadays as well too. So I got the real background of the Fitzgeralds and even the Eugene O'Neill with playwrights, and that loved that guy, and Steinbeck, and all great writers, and I understood what they were doing, and I enveloped that into my style a little bit, but the overall arching thing came really from the poets, which is kind of an interesting thing. But I think probably the authors that I disliked initially were the earlier 20th century authors, Steinbeck and Fitzgerald and Hemingway, and all for different reasons. But for some, they're like Hemingway. I thought was very, very simplistic, but then I started to understand, well, he doesn't have very many adjectives in his work, and then since then learned that adjectives are kind of irrelevant anyway. So I reread his works, and loved the writing in that, and understood how he was doing that, and it actually was very good writing. And the same with Steinbeck. I thought he was overly pompous in his writing, to tell you the truth. But it told a
Yeah.
fantastic story, of people moving from the Dust Bowl in the United States to California, etc. So I reread them and understood then what they were all about, what they were trying to do, and I learned from all of that, and I put some of that into my own voice. And but to tell you the truth, the writers who have the most influence on my current writing are the poets from the 20th century, the T.S. Eliot and Dylan Thomas and W.H. Auden. Those guys really know how to tell a story in few words, and so I incorporated all that. I love that too, and I put that into how I write nowadays. So all good things, all good writers. Yeah.
When I write novels, I like to put the readers in the time and place, right? And because for that reason, when they read, I want them to feel as if they're actually sitting there in the 17th century tavern, or I want them to actually feel as if they're sort of like standing there in the grand manner and that type of thing.
I wasn't really a spy. They called it an analyst, so I wasn't really,
Yeah,
I wasn't really
yeah.
trained. I wasn't really trained to carry a gun, but I did on occasion. But anyway, yeah, I broke a lot of rules. Let's just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's get on to the second question. Number between 1 and 50.
Okay. How about 33?
What is your favorite childhood book?
Oh, I would say uh, probably Huckleberry Finn, because
Okay.
that's sort of the way I grew up. It kind of wild and kind of did my own thing always. But yeah, Huckleberry Finn just traveling,
Okay.
by himself down the river, and it's like, I would think that you probably couldn't do that nowadays, and I really am not a great swimmer or anything, so I'm not really that attracted to water. But that seemed like a very good one. But another one was the pirates, of course, like in some of your books. I love the tales of Long John Silver and all those guys, and Blackbeard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I mean, in Dream of Courage, back in sort of like I mean, obviously it's based in England, and especially around Yorkshire, and in that sort of like early 1700s period, there were highwaymen, there were the pirates, and actually researching that, and actually finding out around in Yorkshire where those pirates their business was absolutely amazing. I loved it. Okay, so look, without I know it's not easy to sort of like answer questions on the spot, but tell us a little bit more about your last Hollow Man series novel.
Sure. It's called Surviving Prague, and as you might know or might not know, that it was the early 70s. There was still a Cold War between the U.S. and Russia, and so we as American citizens were not allowed behind the Iron Curtain, which was the row of Poland and all the Romania, all the countries along there. Czechoslovakia was another one, and but my partner at the time was a MI6 agent, and she was stationed there. And long story short, she gets involved and is wanted for murder, and actually she has a kill warrant out on herself. So I happened to be in Germany at the time, and I thought, well, why don't I just kind of go over and help her, right? And so I stole the car and went to Czechoslovakia, and sort of talked my way into the country with probably maybe 500 bullets following me. So, but again, and so anyways, it's a story about me coming to help a person who neither wanted nor needed my help, basically. But there I was, and it's sort of like getting involved into more things that happened there, and trying to get her out, which both of us used each other to get out of the country, and say sort of stop something else that was going on. So rather than, so I don't give this whole story away, but that's basically it. I mean, there's a serial killer in it. There's a little bit of romance. There's all kinds of things that you could imagine in there. So
All
that's
right.
it for that
Sounds
one.
intriguing.
Thank you.
Sounds intriguing. I'm sure that after I mean, obviously, your novels are very, very popular. I can see a Paul Hollis movie coming up soon.
That would be a dream. That would be the dream. Yeah. So, but
All
yeah,
right.
just keep in mind, if you're going to read these things, that I would say that probably 80% of them are 90% true. Somewhere around there, give or take a bit. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
the best I can remember after 40, 50 years, that this is what happened. So it's, some of it's memory and some of it isn't.
Yeah.
But um, but I do, like you said, put people into the street, into the situation, so that they're just basically right by my side as a narrator, to see and feel what goes on there. So
Wonderful. All right, Paul. I look forward to
my
editing
pleasure.
all the the gaps in that on this video, and it'll be on Beth Warsdale's Books and Banter next week. So thanks very
Great,
much.
great. Appreciate it. And wait, one more thing. I want to tell your people out there watching you, please, if you haven't read Paul Rushworth-Brown's books, please read them, because you are going to be amazed at how good they are.